Okay, guys. Well, it seems like I am now live. Waiting for YouTube to basically confirm that. My software's saying that, but YouTube is still doing their thing. And it doesn't seem like I am live. What have I done wrong? Is anyone in the chat at all? Because it's not actually... done. Yes, that's all done. Oh God, I knew this would happen. So it's saying I'm live in my... Okay, I can see you. I was looking at the wrong thing. Hello, Jem. Anybody else there? I'm hoping that this is all going well and everybody can hear me. All right. Hello, Denise. Right, I'm pretty sure that you guys can hear me now. So let us begin. So this is my first ever official live stream, and I'm sure I'm going to make plenty of mistakes. So please be patient while I get my head around all of this new software, and hopefully I don't stuff up too many times. So today I've decided that we'll basically start, just going over the 7 hermetic principles, try and focus on the mental universe, and then really just allow the discussion to go from there. And hello, Lisa, how are you? Good to see you guys. Now, I'm just trying to... I'm clicking, but it's not doing anything. Okay, so... yeah, participants, all right. Okay, I'm clicking, but yeah, so that's something that I'm going to have to figure out as well. I would have the help of my teenage son, but he is still having his beauty sleep, and you know what they're like when you disturb their beauty sleep. So if it gets too messy and I really am losing control of everything and I don't know what the hell I'm doing, I will actually just probably stop the stream and go and grab him and try and get him to work it out. But at the moment, it's not really letting me do anything. Just let me try something over here. See, I've got the chat for... oh, hang on. Is that it? No. Participants. It's just not, I don't think it's connected onto the YouTube properly. YouTube seems to be stuffing up. So, look, surprise, surprise. Anyway, look, I'm just going to go ahead and keep talking. And as I said, if it gets too out of control, or I need to do something that I can't, then I'm going to go and get my son and wake him up and deal with the consequences later. All right. So as I was saying, I was going to just start with the mental universe, just so we've got something to begin our discussion with, and then we can springboard into other areas as you guys have questions. Because really that's what I want to make this a Q&A. I'm better bouncing off you guys and what you guys need me to explain, rather than just, rabbiting on and on and on and, talking about things that you guys have heard 100 times. I'd rather cover the subjects that you guys aren't really getting a handle of, or you want more information on. That's kind of what I see these live streams as being most beneficial for. But anyway, let's dig into the hermetic principle. And now I've printed out this, I've made this graphic for you guys so you can kind of follow along and read into the different sections. And so if there is anything in this graphic here that you want me to explain further, or you don't quite understand, just let me know, and then I can actually go and look into that further with you and explain that further with you with the information that I have and the understanding that I have of this. Again, I can't give anybody the truth. I can't tell you what to believe and give you truth handed on a platter. All you can do is really find your own, you have to seek out more understanding. Finding truth, the way that the universe, the mental universe works, is that we cannot be lazy. We cannot be mentally lazy. We will not be rewarded. So all of those people that are showing up to church and are just listening to their clergy tell them what to believe are going to be in for a very, very nasty surprise when it is all said and done, because they are being mentally lazy. God gifted us an intellect for a reason. Jesus said, knock and ye shall find. He never said, knock on the clergy's door and go and ask them what to believe. He specifically said, knock and ye shall find, meaning go and seek out. And if you seek out with pure intent to find answers for no other motivation than just wanting to know truth, you will be given those answers. You will be guided to to the information that you need. And that's how it works. And that's why it's basically symbolized with the white rabbit. Now, I know the white rabbit has been basically manipulated and bastardized like they do with all of the esoteric symbolism, okay? But the white rabbit is basically chasing knowledge, chasing truth down. Like, that's how it works. You will find information and you will study that, and then you'll have more answers, and then you'll start looking again, and then suddenly something else will appear and you'll go, oh, that's exactly what I was just looking at. And so then you'll go and look at that, and then from there you will bounce and follow something else. And it's like dots, or it's like a puzzle, and you're slowly putting the puzzle together and you're getting piece by piece. And, at the beginning, it doesn't really make sense when you're looking at the puzzle, because you might have one corner over there and then one corner over there. But slowly, as you get all of the different pieces, the picture starts to form. Now, there are people that are further along with making that picture. They've got more pieces to the puzzle because they've connected more dots. Doesn't mean to say that the complete picture is completed. And, for me, there are still a lot of things that I don't quite have a grasp of, and I'll get into that in other streams of where I'm at now and where I'm looking and what I'm trying to figure out. But for you guys that are just starting your journey, you have to continue to find those pieces of the puzzle yourself. And as I always say, go back to the most purest form of knowledge, the rawest texts that have not been manipulated, that have not been interpreted for you. Like when you're reading some of these ancient texts as well, you will see footnotes underneath. Do not read them. Footnotes is somebody else's opinion. And so why do you continually give somebody else the power to influence your beliefs? Your intellect is just as, equal to anybody else that is studying this knowledge. And if you are already interested in this knowledge, then you already have shown that potential to be someone who can process and grasp this knowledge. Not everybody can, but that's because of where they've allowed themselves to be mentally. Okay, we are all gifted a ability to understand the truth. But if you allow yourself to be brainwashed, if you're just going to watch television all the time, if you're just going to watch football all the time and drink beer and get shit-faced every weekend, then you are not going to have what it takes, the intellect and understanding it takes to understand truth. You're just not. You're not going to be able to process it. That's why if you ever try and discuss this type of information, and when we first start in this journey and we get really excited because we've found all this knowledge and we just want to share it with people in our immediate environment, you know, and you go up to your friends and you like start talking to them about all of, and they just look at you and it's like their eyes glaze over and they literally think you're speaking another language. And that's because you really are speaking another language to these people. Okay, 98% of humanity are brainwashed. And even those who think they're in possession of the truth, and even those who think that they have an understanding of esoteric knowledge and biblical scripture, are brainwashed because they have trusted their intellect to somebody else. Okay, all of those Christians dare not look outside of the Bible that their clergy told them is the only source of information that they can look at. Now, here we are dealing with the creator of the universe, right? The mental universe. I mean, literally created everything in our universe, from the smallest microbe to the largest galaxy. And these people are trying to say that we can fit that into one book. Does that even make sense? I mean, I would call that blasphemy. I mean, you're actually belittling the creator of the universe to say that you can only fit him into one book. And so if you only read that one book, all you are giving is opinion, because you need to go across culture with the theology, with mythology, because mythology is just another form of theology. Okay, it's just allegory, it's parables, it's information that has been encoded so that only the worthy who have shown themselves worthy by going and seeking out the knowledge can understand it. And so when you go cross culture and you continually look at all of this different knowledge and this different information, you'll start to see things that repeat themselves over and over again. And then you actually start to see that these are the important bits of information that you have to grasp onto. The rest, all the words, all the stories, everything else, that's just the cover. And there is actually there's a saying. Now, I don't have it with me, and what I'll do is I'll post the stream into our group, Keepers of the Flame. So if you haven't joined that, please go and join that. I'll put a link down underneath and you can join that. But I'll put a link there of the stream, and then what I'll do, I will post all of these parables and sayings and quotes that I think of but I don't know completely into the comments section underneath so you can see what I'm talking about. But this quote from Mary the Prophetess, it is, I'm not sure where it's really sourced, but you'll get to know what's authentic, because you'll get to see that if suddenly some quote is saying something that's completely not able to be verified in anything, then you'll know it's fake, you know. But when you start to see the common denominator, you know, the common truths, you'll know what's authentic. And Mary the Prophetess, this quote basically says that, look, all of these stories and all of these words and these parables, they're just white noise. It's just been put there to cover up the truth. So all of these people that are basically going and listening to their priests are just listening to the stories. And then they're just listening to their priests tell them what the stories mean using the stories. It's like they actually believe that there really was an ark. You know, they actually believe the Bible literally. Now, there are parts of the Bible that are literal, especially, you know, Proverbs and the different lessons. But there are, no, Aaron, Monday is Australia, mate. If you're in the US or Europe and the UK, that's actually Sunday at the moment. So I've put both times down. So Kabbalah is another prison. See, that's your brainwashing talking, okay? Because you're fearful of knowledge. Now, no disrespect to you, but really, people, if you are fearful of knowledge, I don't know why you're even listening to my stream. Okay, I really don't. I mean, if you're just here to argue, then really all you're doing is showing your fear of knowledge. Because I don't go onto other people's streams, that believe something different. And I don't go and argue with them constantly because I'm desperate for them to believe what I believe. And if you find that that's the behavior that you are engaged in, if your behavior is that you have to go and find people that don't believe what you believe, and you have to convince them with these huge epic comments and replies, and then get angry at them and maybe even call them names, or go and stalk their channel and find something you can discredit them with and then mock them, that's really just showing you where you are intellectually, and that is you are fearful of knowledge. And again, Jesus never said, go and seek out only information that your priest tells you to look at. Okay? You should be able to look at any knowledge whatsoever, and even if it's not authentic, you should just say, oh well, that's not authentic. I can see that there are things in that information that are not actually able to be replicated anywhere else. It's just there that I'm seeing this information, which means this is an opinion of someone. And this is what the emerald tablets of Thoth the Atlantean is fake. It's fake. Don't bother reading it. You can read it if you want to, but you're just wasting your time, because all you have to do is go and have a look at the dude that actually wrote this rubbish. And he was talking about aliens and serpents. Now, whenever you start seeing them try and, connect aliens to ancient knowledge and ancient people and ancient technology, straight away, that's shill. That's shill territory there, right there. Because that's what they want you to believe, that we're so dumb. The human race is so stupid that we could not have built the pyramids or had that technology, so it must be aliens. And that's why they infect this esoteric knowledge with all of that rubbish of the Galactic Federation and, aliens and serpent races and the Anuki, I can't even say it right, Zachariah Sitchin. I mean, he was connected to the Freemasons, and I'm not saying that the Freemasons, their information, their knowledge is incorrect, because it's not, okay? But they've been corrupted. They've been infiltrated. Like all of these different brotherhoods that were there to basically protect the knowledge, well, eventually they get infiltrated in the lower ages, and that's where we are. We're in the lower ages consciously. Okay, we might be really good at building stuff like technology, but that's because we're not using our intellects how we should be using them. Could you imagine if we actually used our consciousness in the way it should be used right now? How and where we would be as a society. But those in charge and in control who have the knowledge, who have hoarded it underneath the Vatican, and they have all of this knowledge that I am talking about. So, 500 years ago, I would have been burned at the stake, all right, for having this knowledge and for dare looking outside of the Bible. And they have tried their best to destroy as much as they can. I mean, what do you think the Crusades were? Okay, they were all about going around the world, finding all the cultures who had the truth, basically slaughtering them, burning what they didn't want, and hoarding and stealing the rest. And you can just imagine what's in that Vatican library, because we don't even know the tip of the iceberg. But I could tell you now, if mankind knew what was being stolen and hidden from them, that there wouldn't be a Vatican. Okay, there wouldn't be a government. But at the moment, because knowledge is power, right? We are completely controlled because we're brainwashed. And so 98% of the collective are brainwashed. And unfortunately, because we are basically beholden to the collective, okay, that's where our strength is within the collective. We can't do anything about it. We are the outliers. And that's why it's the hermit's path. And that's why if you think you're going to find a lot of people in your immediate environment who understand you or who are interested in this at the level that they should be, forget it. Get used to being alone. And thankfully, we can use technology to our benefit so that we can connect our consciousness with each other through this technology. I mean, that was their Achilles heel, that they've made technology, but now they're cracking down on us, you know, I mean, big time. So, you know, there's going to be a time where I won't even be able to do these streams. I mean, they'll just not allow it. You know, we're going to be, our internet is going to be so controlled that basically we're all going to be given a number, an internet number. It's going to be connected to our social media score, our social credit score, and social media is going to be connected to that. Our license is going to be connected to that, and they're going to know everything we're talking about, and so it's going to be completely regulated. So we need to take control of the technology for our own benefit right now. And so this is what, you know, we just have to understand, that our days are numbered when it comes to accessing this knowledge. So I would suggest everybody who wants more information that I have basically put out on YouTube, you know, join the dots and put together some knowledge that I've found over the last decade. And so I think that gives me some, standing in what I'm talking about, that I can show 10 years of research, you know. And as I've said, you know, I am open to other information and other knowledge, but if you're just going to, you know, come on my stream and say, Kabbalah is another prison, not back yourself up with anything, don't have a channel with any research, don't have any verses or anything that you can prove what you're saying, then why would I bother debating you? You know, you will be removed. I mean, I don't understand why people can't fathom that. It's like all you're doing is hindering the journey of others, okay? And people say, oh, she censors, she blocks. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, I do. Because I don't want you hindering other people who don't need any more bullshit and white noise when there's already so much of it that they have to get through. If your only motivation is to hinder others because you're triggered that nobody wants to believe what you want to believe, then you are not welcome in my experience, and I will not allow you to trip up other people who have a motivation that is basically based in a pure motivation to just seek out knowledge. Okay, so, you know, I'm all about the truth, and I'm all about being open to debate, and I love debate. Believe me, I love debate, but bring something to the table, because that's the problem. Nobody ever does. They just say some statement, or they ridicule me, or they mock me, or they call me some names, but they never actually back themselves up with anything. So that's all I'm saying, is that if you do have something that you've seen that is not conducive to what I am saying, then I want to know about it, because I want the truth. I don't want to be right just for the sake of being right. And it doesn't even matter anyway that I'm right, because I was right in 2016. I put out a video in 2016 saying that they were going to use a pandemic to take away our freedoms and to shut us down. And has anybody... has anybody said, wow, Thyalwaysseek got that right? I mean, listen, 2016, and she was already joining the dots back then and, you know, telling us what to expect, but no. So it doesn't really matter to me. I mean, would I like people to say, oh, yeah, well, you did get it right? And, well, look, everybody does. It's human nature. But is that my motivating goal? Is that my motivation? No, it's not. It's just... I want truth. I mean, and that's where the name Thyalwaysseek came from. I mean, it literally came just, I was sitting at the computer and, I need a name. And what am I always here for? What am I always doing in front of this computer? Oh, you're seeking out knowledge. Well, what about Thyalwaysseek? You know, I mean, and that's how you have to be. Okay, you have to seek. You have to seek all the time. And if you fall down and you go down the wrong path and then you find it, I mean, I was reading some scriptures the other day. I can't think of what the name of them was. I will again post these. And I got 3/4 of the way through it, and then I realized it was absolute rubbish. And then I looked further, and I should have done that to start with, and I normally do, and I don't know why I didn't this time. But it was some woman who basically wrote this text in 1929, you know, and obviously it was just another false path. But you don't allow that to stop you seeking. You just continue on. And as long as you're continuing on looking for knowledge, and that's all you have to do. That's really all you have to do. Just continue looking for knowledge, and then you'll start sifting through it, and you'll start knowing, you know, what knowledge is, as I said, authentic and what's fake, because the authentic stuff continues to repeat itself. Even Manly P. Hall says this, you know, that there is always just this backbone of truth that you will find constantly, and it's only when you've basically read, you know, so many different texts that you'll start to identify that. So if you think that someone's just going to give you the truth and you don't have to do any reading or study or look at anything, then I just wouldn't even bother. I mean, seriously, just go back to watching football and drinking beer, or, you know, go watch Josh Rogan or like some bullshit like that will keep you entertained, because really you're not a seeker. A seeker must seek, there's no shortcut. None at all. And I mean, thankfully, there may be some people like Manly P. Hall who give you a little bit more information to help you get through a little bit of, you know, the white noise. And, you know, I won't have anyone speak badly of Manly P. Hall because he was a Freemason. And it's really sad that I can't even actually post quotes and information from Manly P. Hall, because even people who claim to be esoteric researchers or knowledgeable in esoteric information are like, oh, Freemasons, they're evil, you know, what are you doing posting them? And, you know, again, if you actually went and looked at the information instead of just, you know, listening to what other people say about Freemasons, then you would know that Manly P. Hall was actually murdered because he was actually giving us knowledge. So we should be thankful for Manly P. Hall, because he was one of the greatest, if not the greatest, modern philosopher that we have. And so we should really start, you know, utilizing that knowledge that he gave us. And I wouldn't go for the secret of the ages, okay? That was just, he gave that to the, you know, to the masses. If you want some really, really good knowledge from Manly P. Hall, go to his student notes, his student newsletter that he used to put out every month. I will put a link underneath the video and you can check them out, because that is gold, my friend. You will find so much information in there. And what's wrong with Rogan? I mean, if you have to ask me what's wrong with Rogan, then I don't know what you're here for, Aaron, unless you're just trolling me, mate, because Rogan's a shill. He's got 1 million followers, 1 million subscribers. I mean, do you really think someone with the truth would be having, you know, that big an audience, 1 million people in his audience? I mean, he's controlled opposition. You guys have to understand what controlled opposition is. They will tell you what you want to hear. They will attack the people you want to attack. Okay, that's how they work, or they wouldn't be successful in attracting you to their audience. Okay, but they are there to keep you from other knowledge, from the truth. Okay, and look, tag 44, Secret of the Ages is great, but it's not actually going to give you any real knowledge, because it's encoded in a way that you won't understand it. You'll think that it's a great read, and I'm not saying to anybody don't read it, but I really wouldn't start with The Secret of the Ages. I really wouldn't. I would go to his student notes, and then I would go back to The Secret of the Ages, because it's only when you understand the knowledge that you'll actually get a benefit from reading that. Otherwise, it's just an interesting read that you'll put down, and then the book will get dusty and you'll feel all awesome because, wow, I own this really awesome book over there, and you'll tell everybody that. I remember back in 2012 when everybody was buying this book, and literally it was a thing on social media that you would post that you bought it, and then you would get street cred within the esoteric community because, you know, you would actually be getting, you know, Manly P. Hall's book, and it was expensive, and wow, look at me, I'm so awesome, I've got this book. And I bet you 99% of the people that bought that book back then read it, stuck it up on a shelf, and never took it down again. And that's not who you want to be. And yeah, you don't need to wonder about if Joe Rogan is controlled. He is controlled, okay? He's got 1 million people as his audience. And if anybody... Do you guys understand the verse that says, narrow be the path to life and few there be that find it? You know, you should contemplate on that path, because if you're following anyone that's got a huge audience or that's very popular, then yeah, that's not where it's at, mate, because that's just where they want you to go, all right? It's like when people hear about hermetic science or hermetics, right, the first thing most people think is, wow, oh, you know, Thoth the Atlantean, the Emerald Tablets, Thoth the Atlantean. Why doesn't everybody straight away think about the Kabbalion or the Divine Pymander or the Corpus Hermetica? Why do they only think about Thoth the Atlantean? Why does it immediately go to that? And that's because that's where they want you to go, all right? Because that's where the false information is, all right? And they've been ready for us to wake up for years, since the 1950s and 60s at the very least, even before them with the Theosophy, you know. Now, I know there's a lot of people that like Theosophy, and there are some truths in you know, definitely, you know, but there's also a lot of falsehoods too. So again, once you understand the truth, because you've gone and looked cross culture and you now have that understanding for the basics, okay, of truth, because it's like a foundation that you've got to begin with and then build upon. Like, think about a temple, you know, and you're building it. You know, then you can go and look at other texts and you can start picking out what is actually the truth and what isn't, you know. And sometimes they encoded knowledge that way by actually purposely steering you off the path so they would know that you weren't worthy. And the Freemasons do this, okay? They purposely put out false information, because if you're not worthy of it, then you'll go, you know, lose yourself down that false path. And then that will just prove, that will just confirm you aren't worthy of it, because for those who are worthy of knowledge, they would never just stop at that and then not continue going. And so that's what they expect. All right, so, tag 44, you thought there was something wrong with it. No, it's just that's how they do that. That's how they put the knowledge out. You have to be worthy of it. And really, you know, even the Bible says there's a time for silence, there's a time for, you know, speaking. And so now's the time for speaking, which is why I'm putting out this knowledge. I mean, you know, hundreds of years ago, this was all basically hidden knowledge. You know, that's what the occult means. It's hidden, you know, it wouldn't go out to the masses. But because we're so close now to the tipping point, with what I call the tipping point, or, you know, basically where it's all going, you know, Armageddon, I mean, the apocalypse, the Ragnarok, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. I mean, we're so close now. That's why they're going insane. That's why they're turning us into clowns. I mean, they're basically trying to say that a man can be a woman. You know, they're teaching children that degeneracy is acceptable natural behavior. I mean, there's just, you know, this concerted effort for them to destroy us as a people, as a culture, because they're destroying God, because we, the collective of mankind, is God manifest in the flesh, you know, and so they're destroying us, and by destroying us, they're destroying God. And so that's where we're at, you know, the Creator. Anyway, I haven't even started talking about the mental universe, guys. But as I said, I really just wanted something to put up on the screen so I could begin talking and go back to it if I didn't have anything to talk about. But hey, I don't seem to be having that problem today, do I? So I just wanted to reiterate. I'm just going to go over some talking points, and then look, we can continue going on in other areas again and having some discussions. So if you guys want to, you know, start asking any questions after we go through this, then please do, because that makes it a lot easier for me than just thinking that this is what you want to hear me talk about. So just before I go on, I just wanted to reiterate. The Emerald Tablets of Thoth the Atlantean are fake. I will go and put information under the video of the author, which will save you the trouble of reading his bullshit that he has tried to steer people off the path. However, the emerald tablets are authentic. And in fact, it's only one emerald tablet, and it's a very short text. And it was actually connected to an Arab treatise. Yes, believe it or not, an Arab treatise called Balinus, the Book of Wise Balinus on the Causes. Okay, that was where it was from, this bit of information of this hermetic text, this one little bit of the text, and I'll quickly read it through for you. But it's easy to find, and you will find a link to it underneath as well. There's not much to it. It's pretty easy to decipher once you understand hermetics, and the best way to understand hermetics is to understand the 7 principles. And you don't even need to read the full Kabbalion. You can just go straight to the 7 principles and just read the short excerpt under each of the principles. And then you can just use that to go and springboard yourself into other research looking to confirm. But I would read the Divine Pymander. I would read the Hermetic, the Corpus Hermetica. But the Kabbalion is broken down in a way that newbies, okay, because this is where I started, and I have to, you know, and I will say it, and I will credit Danny Wilton, because he actually was the one that gave me a heads up about the 7 Hermetic principles, and he was really pretty important in a lot of the discoveries that I made and a lot of the dots that I put together. And so even though he took a different path, and we all do, I do think that we do owe him a lot of gratitude for the dots that he put together back in 2012. So I just wanted to put that out there. But that's where I started, and it's really a good way to measure all knowledge, okay, because they should actually, you know, be able to be held up against the 7 principles. And if it can't be held up against the 7 principles, then you know that, okay, you just can dismiss that. So the 7 principles are, you know, think of it like the skeleton, all right? So we'll use the analogy of a skeleton, and so they're the bones. And so now you've got to add to the skeleton to build the body up, right? And so that's what you need to go and find after you've got the bones. So you've got your foundation, you've got, if we think of it as you're building a temple, right? You've got your bricks down the bottom, okay? You've got your good foundation, so your temple's not going to fall over, it's not going to sink in the sand. And even the Bible talks about, you know, don't build your temple, your house on sand, right? And this is what a lot of people who are interested in esoteric knowledge do, because they don't actually go and seek it out. They just go and find someone that looks impressive, that's written a couple of books, has a big audience, you know, sounds really great, you know, has great graphics, and, you know, and that's where they stop. You know, they don't actually go and seek it out. But you have to seek it out, guys. It's how the universe works. They're not going to, the mental universe, okay, God, the creator, is not going to reward mental laziness. You have to prove you're worthy. So start with the bones, start with the foundation. And that's why the 7 Hermetic principles, study that until you understand it. If there are questions that you have about it, ask me and I will help you find answers. But that's where you have to begin. So anyway, I'll just quickly go through this text of the Emerald Tablet, the authentic one. And then, as I said, once you understand Hermetics, it's really not that hard to decipher this text. So it basically says, true it is without falsehood, certain and most true. That which is above is like to that which is below, and that which is below is like that to which is above, to accomplish the miracles of one thing. And as all things were by contemplation of one, so all things arose from this one thing by a single act of adaptation. The father thereof is the sun, the mother the moon. The wind carried it in its womb. The earth is the nurse thereof. It is the father of all works of wonder throughout the world. The power thereof is perfect. If it be cast onto earth, it will separate the element of earth from that of fire, the subtle from the gross. With great sagacity, it doth ascend gently from earth to heaven. Again it doth descend to earth, and uniteth in itself the force from things superior and things inferior. Thus thou wilt possess the glory of the brightness of the whole world, and all obscurity will fly far from thee. This thing is the strong fortitude of all strength, for it overcometh every subtle thing, and doth penetrate every solid substance. Thus was this world created. Hence will there be marvellous adaptations achieved, of which the manner is this. For this reason I am called Hermes Trismegistus, because I hold 3 parts of the wisdom of the whole world. That which I had to say about the operation of soul is completed. Okay, so that's it. That's the Emerald Tablet. Okay, so as I said, there'll be a link underneath. Go and have a look at that. It's not too hard to understand when you understand the ether, when you understand the Christ light, when you understand that travels on the medium of ether. The ether is like the tide, okay, principle of rhythm, and we are in a time where the tide has gone out, but it's slowly coming back in again, which is why we've become more conscious, but we're actually directing our consciousness into stupid, it's not stupid, because, you can use technology to benefit humanity, but when it becomes humanity, which is what we're doing right now, then yes, it's negative. And I'm a great believer in everything in moderation. It's like, people diet and they won't eat this and they won't eat that and they won't, and to me it's just about moderation. It's same with like drinking alcohol or anything like that. If you drink too much, well, yeah, you become a pisshead, you become a drunk. But if you just have a little bit every now and then, it's actually beneficial for you. It's actually shown to be, not that bad. So this is the same, with knowledge. Knowledge not used appropriately and used in the wrong area is not beneficial for humanity. And this is what we've done. Technology has completely screwed us up as a, society, civilization, because what we've done is, instead of used technology to search out information, which by the way is what we did when we first actually got the internet, right? Back in 2011 and 2012, and personally I do believe there was an awakening happening back then, okay, because a lot of people suddenly got very interested in all this knowledge. A lot of people started searching it out, and then of course they were there to send all these people into the ditch. They had all their different little shills and their little subjects that they could push people over into that sounded really great. Galactic Federation and channeling, and there was so many. There was one guy, what was his name? Oh, everyone loved him. He used to channel an alien. I can't remember his name, but oh my God, so many people got sucked up in him too. But there was a lot of falseness as well. But because the internet was still pretty new, we had the ability to find knowledge. And so we did, and we got our little community, and YouTube was actually a community back then, believe it or not. We actually did have a community, and we all started looking for this information. And of course, because we weren't really that conscious back then, we bickered amongst each other, and that was probably the wrong thing to do, because we didn't actually understand that we were allowed to have different opinions and theories, because what we had to do was come together and then actually go through them and find what made the most logical sense, instead of trying to hang on to them to prove that we were right. But anyway, wisdom, being wiser, it comes with age, and I'm 10 years older than I was back then, and I'm a lot wiser, and I'm sure many of us are. So look, everything that happens is meant to happen because it's to trigger growth. It's to spur our growth. We've got to grow, and that's the only way we grow, by finding flaws, falling down. That's it. There's no other way. So anyway, I forgot why I even went down that tangent. But yes, that's right. Technology. So back then we were utilizing technology for our benefit. We were finding all this knowledge, and we wouldn't have access to all these texts, unless we had the internet. I can just go and find the Divine Pymander. I can go and find the Kabbalion. I don't have to go to a library and ask them, can you order it in, or go online. Some things you won't get. The Colburn Bible, you will not find a complete Colburn text online. You have to buy one, and they're about, I think, $80 to $100, but I can tell you, if there's any biblical scripture that you should invest in, then I would invest in the Colburn Bible, because they have done their best to try and suppress the Colburn Bible, and that's because it contains so many truths. Okay, and it's pretty much a lot of what you find in the Colburn Bible matches a lot of what you find in the Bible. Okay, and so I can see why they wanted to just get rid of that, because it hasn't been censored. And you know, anybody who believes that in the last 800 years that the Catholic Church has had possession of the scriptures, that they haven't made some edits, really? I mean, does that even sound logical to you? Think about it. The Antichrists, who have literally taken over a religious organisation, which is the most powerful religious organisation in the world, more powerful than the Jews, because I know everybody says, oh, the Jews are Jews. Really? Really? Does everyone go over to Israel, which, by the way, was only created in 1947, and Israel is literally symbolism from the Bible, that they've just called a part of the earth Israel and then tried to replicate the Bible onto that part of the earth with a people who have assumed themselves to be Jews, probably a lot of them in ignorance, but the Bible even says those that say they are Jews and are not. So does anybody else know any other Jews on the world today? No. So that's pretty much the only Jews on the world today. And then the Bible in Revelations is telling us those that call themselves Jews and are not. So yeah, not too hard to put two and two together. All right. Now, I'm not saying demonizing the Jews, okay, because they are victims as well. All right. They have been brainwashed and they are victims of all of this too. But nobody knows who the Jews are, because you know why? The Jews are the divine race. And does anybody have a halo at the moment? Because until they do, nobody knows who the Jews are. That's why they were scattered to the four ends of the earth, okay? Because nobody knows who they are. So if any one people are calling themselves something divine, then no, because the Bible tells you that they're not in one group anyway. So that's, you know, that's another story altogether. But this is what happens with this knowledge, is that it just continues to, you know, tangent out into other areas because it's all connected. So I forgot why I even went over into that tangent as well. Hang on, I'm just going to have a drink. I've been talking too much. Oh my God, I needed that. All right, so I'm going to move away from there. I don't want to get in trouble with people, and people are, you know, not really ready to hear a lot of this stuff, and so I don't want to get people thinking that I'm anti-Semitic when I'm not, because I do not want to demonize a race of people. I think we're all victims of the Antichrist. Actually, that's why I went over there, because I was trying to say that the most powerful organization in the world, richest organization in the world, and people, oh no, the Vatican aren't that rich, you know. Well, they have their own bank, okay, and they have their own accounting system. So if you really think that they're telling us exactly how wealthy they are, then again, very naive. So here we have an organization that has been in power for at least 800 years, okay? Same organization, back, you can trace them back, all right, 800 years ago, easy, right? They have all of the knowledge of mankind hoarded underneath their, you know, their temples, right? We're not allowed to access it, okay? Secret. They don't even have to give it back. You know, isn't it funny? You know, like everyone's having to give back all of these, you know, artworks and these sculptures and these ancient objects that they've taken from other races. And yeah, you know, now there's this this big thing on about returning them, but nobody goes to the Vatican and says, hey, you guys going to return our texts, you know, the ones that you burn our villages down for, you know, especially the Norse people, you know, I mean, they got screwed over. Oh, what about the South Americans? I mean, they literally were slaughtering them, cutting their hands off, cutting their noses off. Oh, the Cathars, yep, about 1 million of them, you know, the Gnostic Cathars, yep, same thing, cutting their noses off, slaughtering them, you know, burning them at the stake, torturing them. Yep, so this same organisation calls himself godly, does this to these people, takes all the knowledge, puts it under their church, right? Basically has their own bank, is their own country, has their own law. You know, they're not even actually accountable to any other law. Every single leader, as soon as they come in power, where do they go? Oh, that would be to the Vatican to kiss the ring of the Pope, literally and figuratively. Okay? And then these are the people that have the canon for the Bible and have had a possession of the Bible for at least 800 years, the scriptures anyway, and the ability to edit them. Because remember, the scriptures are no longer in existence, all right? There is no written scripture that we can go back to, right? So they've had all of this stuff. I mean, they literally used to burn people at the stake for wanting to read the Bible in their own language. Does that sound like a godly person to you, or someone that's trying to hold on to power? And this is why it sickens me when I see these Christians now, these Catholic Christians, and they want to hear the Bible in Latin. You know, they can't understand a word of it, but they think that it makes it more special and more godly if they go and listen to the sermon of their priest in Latin. You know, even though people literally died and were burned at the stake so that they had the luxury, they had the privilege of reading their Bible in English, these people spit in the faces of all of those martyrs that died trying to get the Bible in a language that all could understand. They spit in their faces and now insist on having their sermons in Latin. I mean, this is the brainwashing that we can see in Christianity today. It's disgusting, actually. And these people who call themselves Christians are not Christians, because you know what? Being Christian is a verb. It's not a noun, okay? It's a doing thing. You have to be a Christian. And yet, you know, so many of these Christians think that they're not worldly, but yet they'll go to college to get that degree. And why will they go to college to get that degree? Oh, because they actually want the career that pays well so that they can have the nice car and the nice house. Well, hang on a minute. Isn't that worldliness? You see how screwed up their thinking is? And all they think they have to do is say, I accept Jesus. I accept Jesus. That's all they think they have to do. And then, you know, and you know what? They can even just sin all their life, apparently. You know, they can be a complete asshole, selfish, you know, murder people, whatever. They don't care, you know, whatever you want to do, it's all free game, right? But as long as just before you die and you take your last breath and you say, I accept Jesus as my Lord and Saviour. Hey, guess what? You're redeemed, mate. Everything you did, every sin you did, all gone. You're in heaven. I mean, this is the brainwashing that you have to deal with. And they're all over YouTube Shorts now. I mean, they're everywhere, just spreading their, you know, their ignorance. Because a lot of them are just ignorant. They don't understand any better. And so it's, you know, yeah, that's right, Tag. That's true. And, you know, this is why they built these huge, big churches and these cathedrals that were so impressive. You know, a temple back in the day, you know, back in the day of the Gnostics, the Gnostic Christians who were the first true Christians, and, you know, and this goes all the way back to Egypt anyway. And Egypt is not Egypt in the Bible. That's Egypt that we know, Egypt. That's Kemet, okay? So, again, they're using these words in the Bible of these place names, and then they're attributing them to places on earth to help with their brainwashing and propagandizing. But anyway, so back in the day when we were just all a brotherhood and we all just knew truths that were Christian and we wanted to follow Christ and be Christ-like, we would meet together to discuss the scriptures. You know, all of us, we would just come together and we would have someone that would direct the meeting and, you know, probably a little bit more learned than the rest of us. And that's how church was. That's what it used to be, just very simple. Sometimes it wasn't even a building. It was just somewhere that you met just to all come together and share in your gratitude to the Creator, because it wasn't about worshipping Jesus, another thing that they do, and that will be another stream that I will definitely do, how Jesus is not God, the Creator. Jesus is a man. Okay. But anyway, so back in the day, it was just a little temple, maybe just a, you know, somewhere where we met. And then when the Catholics come along, right, when the Antichrist decided to take over religion, because they knew that's how they could control us all. So they built these huge cathedrals. They were so massive, and just because that's what people then equated to being godly. Oh my God, well, it must be godly. Look at it. It's so beautiful. It's so big. It's just amazing. Well, that has to be of God, because God's big and beautiful and amazing. So that must be. And those people in there that are telling me what to believe, well, they must be of God too, because, well, hey, they built this thing. And look, it wasn't just the Christians. It was actually the Muslims too. And Muslims, Islam and Christianity are so connected. It is not funny. I mean, seriously, and Judaism in a way too. But really, Islam and Christianity, there is just so many connections between those two different religions. And so you can see that even Muhammad, who was another Messiah, okay, he wasn't the firstborn, which is what Jesus symbolizes, but there are 8 Messiahs, 4 female and 4 male. So Muhammad even warned Islam, okay, he warned the Muslims, that the mosques would be splendid, but that they would be empty of spirituality, okay, they would be devoid of spirituality. And this is exactly what we've seen with the Catholics and the Christians. They have these amazing buildings which are absolutely void of spirituality. People just turning up every Sunday to show that, hey, I'm a Christian, and then they just listen to somebody tell them what to believe. They sing a few songs, and then they walk away thinking that, hey, I'm going to heaven. I'm there. Look, I've just gone to church. I'm there. I'm totally there. And that's what people don't understand, is that that's not what makes you Christian. Living a Christ-like life, and the Christ is within each of us, right, to a different degree. It's another word for divinity, right? This is why Jesus was the Christ, okay? It wasn't, and people interchange Christ with Jesus now. I noticed Christians do this all the time. They use Lord as well. There's 2 Lords. There's the Lord of the universe, which is the mental universe, which is the mind of the all Father, the Creator, Allah, Zeus, Osiris, many names, same God. All right, that's what people have to understand, and not be separated by the different names of the one God. Okay, there's many names for the one God. And again, I've forgotten where I was going with that. I'm getting ahead of myself, and that's the problem, is that I've just got so much to tell you guys that because I haven't been doing videos, it's all just wanting to come out. And so sorry if I'm tangenting off and I'm kind of disjointed in what I'm saying. But yeah, so anyway, it takes more. That's what I'm talking about. It takes more than just going to church and listening to a priest and singing songs. It's not that. It's not that at all. Okay, you don't even need to go to church. That's what I was talking about. The Christ within. The Christ is within. The Christ is within Muslims. The Christ is within Hindus. The Christ is within Arabs. Everybody has the Christ within, because it's the portion of divinity that we have within us. And then that degree of divinity changes depending on our order of creation. And so this is where the great chain of being, if you look at, let's finally look at the diagram that I've done, since we haven't even done that yet. So if you go and look over on the right hand side, you'll see that there is the chain of being. Now, that is symbolizing that's how we are created. And even mankind, because as above, so below, okay, correspondence, that's how we are created as well. So there is a divine that are created directly from God. This is why in the Bible it says, Jesus says, God and I are one. It doesn't mean he's God, okay? Because there's so many other verses that say he's not God, where he literally says, I'm not God. Why do you call me good? Only God is good, okay? But yeah, Christians want to just going to ignore that one. So Jesus is the symbol for the firstborn divine man. And then from Jesus, everything else comes through. This is why it says, the only way to God is through me. I am the only way, because that's the truth. Because Jesus is the anchor. So imagine God threw an anchor down, and the anchor is an esoteric symbol. So next time you see the anchor, now you'll know what it actually means. So God threw an anchor down onto the physical plane from the ethereal plane, and that anchor is Jesus. And from that anchor, everything else was created. Okay? That's how it works. Okay? Well, everything else human was created. Okay? Because, that's why God made Adam from the dust, because the material world was already here, and then God threw the anchor down to create man. And the first man he made was the divine man. So he is the top. That's why he's called Lord of the earth, okay? Because he is God in the way that he is the first extension of God in the physical form, manifest in a physical form, and then from him everything else emanates, right? Everything else is created. And there are other divine. There are actually, from what I have researched, and if anybody else has anything else that they can show me different, but so far I've worked out that there are 144 tribes. Okay, 288 divine. And they are basically in 3 different levels. You've got your gold, your silver, and your bronze. And your bronze are actually the demigods. So what happens is the gold and silver, okay, each tribe is a male and female, and they have a baby, okay, which is a demigod. And that's what connects. And so little baby Jesus, he is the first demigod. Okay, and that's why he connects man to the gods. Okay, that's the chain there as well that's connecting mortal man, iron man, because mortal men are iron. Okay, and that's what's connecting them to the gods. Oh, Grace, are you a bot or are you just ignorant? Go away. Okay, I mean, seriously, if you haven't worked out who the Anukai are by now, then really, no. This is what I'm talking about. People, okay, unless, Grace, you are saying that the fallen angels are the divine race in the lower ages, then I take that all back. I take that all back and I apologize. Because that's what the Anukai, that is what the fallen angels, the Nephilim, well, the Anukai was basically taken from the Nephilim. That's the connection that they made, all right? So to have people fear the Nephilim. The Nephilim are just the divine race that have fallen. Okay, fallen angels. All right, they've come down into the dark ages, the Iron Age, where we are now, okay, where there's no one, we can't tell who the gods are anymore. We can't tell who the divine are because no one's got their halo, okay? And so everyone looks alike and nobody knows, all right? And so that's why they're called the fallen angels, because they had to experience, and even Plato discusses this in the story of the Atlanteans, which is another mythology that describes the fall of the divine race. I mean, it's represented in many mythologies, okay, and people just can't put 2 and 2 together. And because the Catholic Church have now elevated Jesus to being God and then said there are no other gods or there are no other divine, so who were the apostles? Okay, even though you see them in their pictures with the halo, oh, that just means that they've got knowledge. No, it doesn't. It means they're divine, because the divine literally shine. They literally do have a difference in appearance to mortals. That's how we know, okay? That's why you can check. You can check who the divine are. The Bible says that too. You know, you can check. Be sure to check, to test. Even the Gospel of Thomas says, if you see one who is not born of a woman, fall down on your knees and worship that one, because he is divine, okay? Well, the firstborn divine male, okay, was not born of a woman. He was created by God directly onto the physical plane. after that incarnation, then yes, he is subject to the laws of the universe, the laws of our physical plane, and must be brought into creation, brought into material creation constantly throughout his incarnations by women, by the female, which is why God holds the female in such high regard, because she is the bringer of life, the bringer of the gods, because without the female, even mortal females, gods could not be brought onto the planet. They could not keep continuing their incarnation. Now, I don't know specifically whether mortal females can produce gods, but I do believe that is the case. And I also do believe that that's because their destinies are entwined, because that's another thing I'll come to, the principle of cause and effect, and that will explain that. Okay, Grace, when I work out how to block, your ass is being blocked from this frickin' chat. Get your ass out of here. I do not want to hear your rubbish. There is no frickin' race, hostile races. There is no aliens. You are ignorant or you are a shill. And I'm probably thinking the way you're spamming my... I'm trying not to swear here because I don't want to be blocked from Facebook, from YouTube. Already blocked from Facebook in 2016. But you are the reason that I'm doing these types of videos, because you just... Oh, I cannot stand people that are there for no other reason than to trip up others. So when you see these people, you must just ignore them or call them out, okay? Do not allow them to spread their filth, because that's what it is. She's a shill, okay? There's no way that Grace just discovered my live stream and decided that she was going to troll me, okay? Yeah, they shut down my Twitter. I know. Because you know why? I tried to tell people how to beat the algorithms by screenshotting everything when you share, so that they can't trace what you're actually sharing and then understand what subject matter that you are interested in, and then they can put you in that little box where they want to put everybody and categorize. So anyway, look, I'm not even going to worry about Grace, because anyone here in this chat already knows people like Grace exist, and they're either one, ignorant, or two, they're a shill. And either way, you just have to feel sorry for them, pity them, you know, because there's really nothing more that can be said. So anyway, I've gone a little bit into the divine race, and I'll go into that more, okay, in other streams. But let's just kind of come back and bring it back to the mental universe. So the mental universe, so what is it? God is the mental universe. The creator is the mental universe. The universe is the creator, held in his mind. The creator of the universe brought himself into existence by thinking himself into existence. And that's what that middle section of the Kabbalion actually explains, because it basically allows you to use the other principles of hermetics to then understand who and how the all created itself. And the all is also androgynous. So even though I always call God he, it's because I just prefer that. I just prefer to see God as a fatherly figure. You can call God she, it doesn't really matter, because God's androgynous, the God's both. So if you have a preference to call God she, that doesn't mean you're a pagan, and it doesn't mean you're going to hell, and God doesn't care, okay? Because God is both, all right? And we know that God is both, because why do we know God is both? Well, because there were some other texts that the Catholic Church didn't want to actually include in their Bible. And one is the Zohar, which is not a Christian text anyway, but the other is the Gospel of the Holy 12, which I would absolutely recommend you guys read. I'll put a link to that underneath. So let's read the Zohar first, what the Zohar says about God being androgynous, right? So it says, when the matter is hidden, that the father and mother contain all things, and all things are concealed in them, and they themselves are hidden beneath the holy influence of the most ancient of all antiquity. In him they are concealed, in him they are all things included. So you can see that they are saying that God is androgynous, but we default to he, because in God manifest on the physical plane, which is us, because we are the image of God, the male is more physically stronger than the female, okay? And so we default to a he because the male is more powerful, and we basically equate power to God, then we default, and most of the texts default to the male side of God, being that God is, equated to power. So that's why. But if you prefer to see God as in the female, and then that's fine too. Okay, there's no rule here. I mean, as long as you understand there is only one creator. Okay, one creator of the universe, and that is God, or Zeus, or whatever you want to call Allah, Vishnu. But the Hindu have broken up the creator into different segments, okay, as a way to encode. So they've got Brahma, they've got Vishnu, and they've got I've forgotten the other one, but Shiva is actually symbolic for the firstborn divine male, okay, or the Messiah of the yellow race, okay, because it can actually equate to both. And then you've got the little baby, Krishna, who is the demigod, but he's also shown as, and I forgot the name, but he has the elephant, again. And the reason that the calf and the bull is sacred is because that, and same as the sheep, okay, the lamb, that is symbolizing the portion, the divine portion that you have within you, okay? And as I said again, the more divinity, the order of your creation is conducive to the portion of divinity you have within you. Now, that's not to say that you can't be God-like, all right? You can't be a God. We can't be a God if when we don't have that amount of divinity, we can't be gods, but we can be God-like, right? And this is why when we go through judgment at the end of the great year and we get birthed into a new cycle, the golden age, there are 144,000 mortals that come through into the golden age with the divine race, okay? And these are the mortals who have shown themselves to be worthy, okay, by following the path of Christ, by being Christ-like. That's not by being brainwashed and going to a church and listening to clergy. It's by actively seeking out knowledge and actively walking in the path of the Christed, okay? And I'm not just going to say Christ because they're Christed, the divine race, okay? So this is why it's our portion, our part of us that is divine. And this is what the Catholic Church has tried to destroy, the knowledge. They don't want people knowing that because, well, even Jesus himself says that's why the parables, that's why the verses are written in parables. He actually says it, I'll read it out. He says that, he says, the secret of the kingdom of God has been given to you, but to those on the outside, everything is said in parables so that they may be ever seeing, but never perceiving, ever hearing, but never understanding. Otherwise, they might turn and be forgiven, right? So it's almost a way of them making sure that those who go through to the golden age with the divine race and pass judgment do so on their own volition. They haven't just been given the knowledge and then they act out according to knowing that that's why they have to be that way, though God already knows that anyway. If you're not acting from a place of actual virtue and you're actually just doing all these things because you want to go to heaven or you want to pass judgment, and so you're going and feeding the poor because you think that that's what will get you there, then that's already known. That's why the Bible says, those who go on the street and let everybody know that they've been giving to people, like the left hand shouldn't know what the right hand is doing. That's what that means. It's like you're just doing it because you just want to be a good person, all right? And so there's two ways to being God-like, to being Christ-like, and that is knowledge, right? And the only way you're going to know knowledge anyway and because even if I'm telling you all of this and you don't go research it for yourself and find it for yourself, you're not going to, it's only a belief anyway. It's never going to be knowledge and in that way that it has to be for you to remove the veil and actually be worthy of being Christ-like. But the other way is kindness, okay? And that is kindness that comes from the heart. And I can tell you that I live in a town of about, I think there's about 5,000 people in my town. It's not a huge town. But out of all of the people that I meet, and now I actually am back into slavery, I actually do see a lot of people in this town in my position of slavery. And I can tell you that out of all of the people in my town that I come across, 2 people I would say are literally motivated by kindness. I mean, that's how limited. And I'm not saying there's not nice people out there. There are so many nice people, you know, there's lots of nice people, and there's more nice people than not nice people. But I'm saying true kindness that is motivated by nothing more than wanting to serve others and be kind to others is very rare. But that's another way that you can actually access a Christ-like, you know, experience. You know, you can be Christ-like in that way. So that's very rare. So the best way is knowledge. And the only way to prove that you're worthy of knowledge is to go seek it out. And so I can't say that again, you know, how many times do I say that you actually have to go and seek out knowledge? You can't just listen to me. I'm just here to open the door up, okay? Just let the door open. You guys go through the door yourself and then go find the rest of the information. I'm like the first stepping stone. You know, you can't come back to me and basically, you know, expect me to just hand it to you on a platter. You can't go that and expect anybody to do that. It's just not going to work that way. That is being lazy, okay? And the universe, God, the creator, the mind of the all, will not reward mental laziness. So if you want to actually be one of the 144,000, because look, hey, you might be a God, who knows, you know, you might be divine, but if you're going to just hedge it all on that because they go through whatever, which is, you know, whatever they do, it doesn't matter. I mean, they're part of God. They will go through into the golden age no matter what transgressions that they have done throughout their incarnations over the last 26,000 years. That's why the Antichrists hate them with a passion. Can't stand them because they think it's unfair. It's like they're like spoiled children. It's not fair that I have to actually be a good person to get through to the golden age, and those little brats just get to go through because they're divine. And that's why you see so much hate directed at Jesus and the divine, and they make out that the Greeks were all homosexuals, which is an absolute lie. And if anybody can give me a verse from any ancient Greek text that shows that they were actually approving of homosexual behavior, then do it. Post it, tell me about it, let me see it, we'll discuss it, because it's not true. It's them trying to debase and basically, you know, manipulate the stories of the ancient gods because they know who they are. Okay, that's why they try and turn them into aliens. Oh, well, the gods couldn't have made those pyramids, even though we don't have the technology today that could actually do what they've done. No, it has to be aliens. And I'm even, you know, not surprised at all if that's where this alien narrative is going, okay? Because when we hit that tipping point and we, you know, and the illumination happens, and this is when, I call it the crack, okay? And it's basically what's going to happen is that the whole earth is going to shake. This is what the apocalypse talks about in Revelations, where everything shakes and, you know, the whole world, it's like it's coming apart at the seams. And so that's when the light's coming in, it's just flowing in. You know how like when the tide comes in, like say, no, tide's not a good one. Say when it's flooding, right? And you've got this levee, right? And at the beginning, there's like this little crack in the levee, and the water is, you know, coming through the levee slowly, right? Now, imagine that's ether coming into the physical plane, right? It's just slowly coming in, and so we're all waking up, and oh, I'm getting interested in spirituality for some reason. And, oh, I had this dream last night and it's inspired me to go and look up this and this. And, oh, wow, we're starting to get really good with technology. So, right, so the ether's coming in, and on the ether, it's like the medium of the Christ light, right? God's consciousness. It's coming in Christ consciousness, okay? It's coming in slowly with the ether. Now, you're thinking of that dam in the wall, and now the trickle is starting to get a little bit more forceful. You know, there's more coming in. And then it gets to a point, right, where that wall just cannot hold back the ether anymore. And it cracks open, right? And it just all floods through at once. And then it changes everything downstream, like completely annihilates everything. Just, you know, because of the force of it coming, that's exactly what's going to happen, right? So if you look at 17 on the Rider-Waite tarot card, and you see the tower, and you see when the tower is struck, and you can see the divine male and the divine female, that's the two symbols of the male and female in the tower being thrown to the ground, right? Notice it comes from a thunderbolt. It comes from above. So that's symbolizing the crack, okay? And that's, I think, 17. I haven't got my cards in front of me or anything on my, and I only use them for the symbols, okay? So I'm not a tarot card reader. I just use them for the symbols. That's all they were ever created for, to encode symbolism, okay? So that we could find symbolism and help us unravel esoteric knowledge and find the truths. But the next card, and I'm pretty sure that's 18, so 17 is the tower, or is it 16? No, 17 is the tower, and I think 18 is the sun, or it could be, oh look, whatever. So yeah, so after, next time I'll have my tarot cards in front of me. Actually, I do have them somewhere. Wait a minute, let me just get them. Where's my tarot? Sorry guys, I don't want to get this wrong because it's important. Right, so let me have a look, just hangman. Tower. Tower is number 16. Right, now that's interesting that it's number 16 too, okay, because 7, right, so 16, 1 and 6 is 7, is the number of the ether, all right? And so we can see that the crack comes down, so that's the crack, okay? And so this is after the crack, the tower, we have the star. How could I forget it? The star, all right? The star, now go and look at the star, go and search Google, look it up, Google images, Rider-Waite tarot card, the star. Now look at the symbolism of the star. That is showing you illumination, and that is when the gods will illuminate. And as I said, I'm not surprised that this narrative, this alien narrative, is that those that have survived the crack, right, because not many will, but there will be some, when they see people glowing, right, or looking different, who knows how it's going to actually emanate. Could be the whole body's glowing. I mean, that's what they show in Islam, in some of the paintings in Islam. That's what they show in Hindu. Their skin could be a different color. Again, they show that in Hinduism, that the skin is blue. And then when you look at Avatar, and then that's very symbolic for the gods as well, being that they're so tall as well. That's their skin's blue as well. So who knows? Okay, it's not known exactly what the gods will look like, but they will look different. We'll know that without a doubt. Okay, and so that's when this whole false Messiah narrative that they push, and this whole aliens, people are going to be fearful, especially people that have no clue about scriptures, these atheists that survive, and little kids as well. I mean, my heart just goes out to the children. I do this for the children, I have to tell you. I just do this for the kids, because if any of you have got children, I am just so hoping that you're going to apply this knowledge so that you make their lives less miserable in the coming days, because darkness is coming. We're not going to escape from that. You can hate on me for saying that. You can say I'm a doomer. You can say all this stuff. People said that in 2016 too, when I was telling them about the pandemic, the coming pandemic. People were, oh, you're just a fearmonger. You're just a doomer. No, I'm not. I'm just putting the dots together. observing events and then reporting it to you guys so that you can actually prepare yourselves and, more importantly, your children. Your children, because you know what? The Antichrist hate them. They hate them. Hate them. Why do you think this thing about Balenciaga is coming out? You think that's just what? Coincidence? This is a random? No. They're letting us know what they're doing to the children. You know, they were saying that all of these Ukrainians that were welcomed into the UK, 200 have gone missing. Where do you think they've ended up? You think you're ever going to see them again? No, they're being tortured somewhere, okay? Because children, apart from the gods, are the closest thing to the Creator because they're so pure, okay? They're so pure, and that's why the Antichrists hate them. So they want to make your child's life as miserable as possible, all right? Which is why, look what they did with the pandemic and how they made children wear masks, and little babies have speech problems now and have social anxiety because of the masks. You know, little 2 and 3 year olds, you know, are having mental issues. They're reporting on it. It's almost like they're gleefully reporting on how children have got, you know, mental issues because of what happened. They did that on purpose, okay? And so you have to protect your children. Get them out of these educational institutes. I mean, please don't claim to be awake and you still send your kid to a government educational. I mean, it's not meant to be easy waking up, okay? You're going to have to do things that it's scary. It's scary pulling your kids out of school and teaching them yourself, you know? It's scary having to change your entire life around because you might have to move state so that you can homeschool. But that's what you have to do, okay? That's the test. And how much do you want to protect your children? Because if you think that what you teach them in the few hours at the end of the day that you would see them after they come home from school is anything compared to the 6 hours they've been brainwashed during the day, by God knows who the teacher is, because, you know, most of these teachers are all progressive liberals and are teaching your children the most hideous filth. And you think at the end of the day you can just say, no, that's not true, when every single other kid in that classroom is listening to that teacher in agreement. And we are a species that works through being accepted by the herd, you know, being accepted by the collective. It's very hard to move yourself out of the collective. It's much safer and you feel better when you're doing what everyone else is doing, and kids especially. So you need to make sure that you are the influence in your child's life, nobody else, okay? And they're going to demonize us, and they're going to do all these false flags to make out that we're crazy, you know, that we believe all this crazy shit. Fine, whatever. That's going to happen. No doubt that's going to happen to me, but I don't care, because you know what? They have no control over my soul, all right, and my mind. You know what? They can torture me. They can kill me. They can imprison me, but they can't change the fact that I know the truth. They can't change the fact that I know that I have divinity within me, that I'm connected to my Creator, that I have a soul, and that I cannot be destroyed by them. My soul cannot be destroyed by them, okay? And especially if I'm walking the path of Christ. Okay, they cannot. The only one that can destroy my soul is the Creator, is God. And that will happen if I am not walking the path of Christ, okay, the path of the light. And if my heart is too heavy, full of sin, because sin is just weight. So every time you move out of alignment of like the divine laws are in place, they're set in stone. That's why Moses came out and he put them in stone, all right? Because they're written in stone. They don't change. It's us that transgress those laws, okay? God is not this jealous, man in the clouds with a book who personally chooses who he likes and who he doesn't. It's not how it works. When the all brought itself into existence, the all brought laws into existence, okay, that were written in stone, that are unchanging, as God is unchanging, and those laws will never change. So if you transgress those laws, it's like going down a road, you know, and you've got your little, your little safety fence at each side, you know. They're there to keep you on the road. Okay, well, I suppose God's given us free will, and so we have the road, but there's no like safety things on the side there, so we can choose to go off the road, but then we're transgressing, and so that's up to us. We determine our own fate. Okay, and so at the end of the 26,000 years when we are judged, okay, because it's just all based on an organic process of sifting through the wheat and the tares by their weight, you know. And if you are too heavy, you're going into the abyss. So what happens, and this is what the ancient Egyptians also, basically, they gave a really great description of what happens at the end of the year. And the establishment historians and archaeologists and Egyptologists, what a joke, try to actually say that that's just about when you go, you know, to hell or you go to heaven at the end of like every incarnation. No. Yes, you do go either higher, lower plane at the end of each incarnation before you're reincarnated. Your soul will sit up or down, and there is a post in the Corpus Hermetica about that I will post underneath the video. But at the end of the great year, the big judgment, number 20 on the tarot, that's it. You know, you've had all your incarnations. It'll all be weighed up. That's what Thoth the adjudicator is doing, the scribe. You know, he's there and he's like, well, I'm weighing up. Okay, well, that life, well, you're a bit of an asshole, weren't you? But, oh, okay. Next life, you actually did a few good things. Okay, so this is done in, not by a person doing it, okay, or any, you know, entity. All right, this is just a natural organic process, like the same process that makes a seed burst into life and create a flower. Okay, these things we don't understand. What creates, you know, our heart to beat? Okay, it's a same organic process, right? And this is what a lot of the gods and symbols actually do explain processes. They're not only explaining divine, you know, the angels actually sometimes symbolize a process, you know, or a certain god symbolizes a process. So Thoth, he and Hermes as well, but let's go back to Thoth because we're talking about the ancient Egyptians. He symbolizes a process, okay, and the process is knowledge, gathering of knowledge, which elevates your heart, okay, makes you, because the more you know, well, the better you're going to be as a person, aren't you? If you know the truth, you're not going to actively go out and be an asshole, because you don't want to be. You want to serve God. You want to serve yourself. You want to self-correct because you want to be that way. And so Thoth also symbolizes the adjudication, the looking, the scribe. He's recorded all of your life incarnations, and now you're being weighed. And if your heart is not going to be equal to the feather, then you are going to go into the abyss, which is symbolized by Ammit, the crocodile jaws. And what happens is your soul it goes back to the creator, goes back to the creator, which is Brahma in Hindu. But your consciousness, your identity, who you are as a person, you are going to be wiped from existence. You'll no longer exist. So that's why the mental universe, thought can be extinguished. Okay, matter can't, and your soul can't, because energy can never be extinguished. It just changes, right? And gets recycled, and then the creator will infuse that soul with another consciousness that then comes down onto the physical plane to live out its experiences. And so when we are created, we're created as a whole soul with two halves, male and female. Think of the yin yang. But then when we're created, we come out whole, but then we split. And then we become two separate souls, but we're still connected ethereally. And then we get birthed onto the physical plane in two separate bodies. So this is why, yes, souls do have gender. Okay, I've heard people say, no, souls don't have gender. Yeah, they do. Okay, because your gender follows your soul. And so all of those people then say, what about hermaphrodites? Well, go and test the DNA and the chromosomes of a hermaphrodite, and you will see they are either male or female. So somebody that is born with two genitals has actually just got a physical deformity. And a lot of the physical deformities that we are experiencing now as a race is not God's fault. You know, I don't think it's probably a good thing that we're ingesting a teaspoon of microplastics every week. Probably not a good thing that we're ingesting all the poisons that they put in our water. Not to mention what they're spraying in our sky. So if you think that that's not going to have some effect on the reproduction cycle of the physical human, then yeah, pretty naive. So all these people that blame God, oh God, how could there be a God when that baby has leukemia? Well, what gave that child cancer? Probably not God, okay? Probably look at the environment that that child is born into, the toxic, poisonous environment that we are bringing children into. And so we cannot blame God the Creator for giving us free will and for us being evil and allowing evil. Because even if we're not evil, as a collective, we're allowing it. Okay, so we're all to blame. Okay, I don't like evil, believe me. And if I could and I had the power, I would extinguish it. But I don't have the power because I'm just one person. And we don't have a way to actually come together and take evil out at the moment. So we still are, to a slight degree. Some are more responsible than others. I mean, those who are just going along with life and don't really care are definitely more responsible than others, okay? That's why they say that people who are neutral and just go along with everything are probably the most evil, okay? Even the guy that's evil has made a decision to be evil, okay? But the fence sitter, the agnostic, who, it's not even a real word, I'm sorry. If you're agnostic, you're actually atheist. So please don't tell me, well, I believe, I just need to see. No, you're an atheist, okay? Agnostic is a modern word and it's just bullshit. So if you're a fence sitter, then you're even more evil than the evil one, because he's actually made a determination to be evil. You just decided, I'm just not even going to do nothing. I'm just going to sit here. And that's why even the Bible says, don't be hot, don't be warm, okay? Be hot or cold. There's, you know, don't be lukewarm, all right? Because they're the worst, all right? So that's what people have to understand. We live in a world that is evil. There's nothing we can do about it. People say, we can come together and we can fight. Where? How? How are we coming together? Oh, what, on Facebook? What, on YouTube? What, on Twitter? Who owns all of those platforms? Who controls all of those platforms? Do you know, like, back in the day when there was actually a resistance, do you think that they went out broadcasting to everyone, like gave out leaflets to everybody? Right, we're the resistance. We're going to be meeting down underneath the coffee shop in the basement at 10 o'clock on Tuesday, okay? Let everybody know. Go give out all these leaflets to everybody. Hey, post them up there, over there on this. No, that's not how a resistance works. It's underground for a reason, because there's infiltrators. And I can tell you that most of these big, you know, groups that are resisting and, you know, these prepping channels and all they've all been infiltrated. Okay, so be very careful what you're saying online, because there will be a time where they're going to pull all that up and you're going to be made accountable for that. And if you think some other person that was, yeah, man, I'm with you on that, let's go take these evil effers out. Well, where are they going to be? Well, they're going to be at home and they're going to be getting knocks on their own door. Okay, because we're separate. Even though we've come together on the internet, we're still separate, and they can just take us out one by one. Okay, anybody that they deem a threat to their power. And so we're no threat. They don't even care. All right, they have your guns, because we are no threat. Okay, they can easily just come in and disarm us. Like, even if you say, oh, I've got my guns, they're not coming in. Really? Because they're just going to show up with a SWAT team out the front of your effing house, and they're just going to come in and take it. What are you going to do? Well, nothing. Because where is everybody else? Oh, they're in their own home with their own SWAT team. Okay? So, yeah, this whole thing of we're going to come together, it's gone. I mean, guys, we lost. We lost back, I reckon we lost in 2001. Because back then we still didn't have the internet, but once they got us on the internet and they got us all on their cell phones and connected technologically, right? And especially in Australia, like when they had this pandemic, we had to scan everywhere with our phone to get into places, right? We had to download an app, and if you didn't scan your way in, right? You weren't allowed in, right? You had to show. Some places had security guard on the front door, right? And if you didn't show them that you were okay with the scanning to go in, they wouldn't let you in. So we're all connected now. All of our phones are connected. They're tracked, satellite tracked. So all they need to do now is just bring everything down, which is what they're going to do with this great reset. But I don't think it's actually going to happen in the way that they're letting us think it's going to happen with the WEF. I just don't feel they never play it out like we think it's going to be played out. So there will be a great reset, but I don't think it's going to be the way that we think it's going to work. But when we come back up from that, when they like they're going to take out the electricity grids, they're going to take out the banking system's going to completely collapse. Financial system's going to completely collapse. There could even be a nuke go off, okay? So just be careful you don't think that that's World War III and that's it, or that's, Armageddon, the whole thing, because they'll probably let a nuke off, but in some country, like maybe like Iran or Turkey or just somewhere that's like inconsequential, but it's enough to be like, oh my God, it's a nuke's just gone off, right? So it's going to be something that way, that will bring in a reason for us food shortages is the main thing, because control the people, keep them hungry. All right, as soon as we go hungry is when we actually get violent too. That's when we rise up. All right, and they know that. So as soon as the food shortages happen, the banking system collapses, and all these people who think you've paid off your mortgage, well, if your banking system, or you're paying off your mortgage, banking systems collapse. No, that it's all going to go down. And think of the Bolsheviks. I'm not saying it right. It happened in Russia. The communists, they came in, they took out all the czars, they took out all the rich families, right? And then they went and redistributed all of the wealth to whoever they wanted, and it was mainly their own friends. Okay, and that's what's going to happen. Okay, they're going to redistribute the wealth. And so everyone's, and cars are going to be limited, probably one per family, or, you have to have a certain privilege to have a car or whatever. I mean, that's all coming, right? That's when we're going to be fully controlled. It won't last long, all right? It's not going to be played out for very long. But it will be a time where it's very dark like that. We won't be able to talk to each other. So all of these people that depend on social media groups to prop them up, and, I'm feeling really down today, guys, can somebody just tell me something nice so I feel a bit better? Because, I'm just really feeling down, Yeah, if that's you, time to start doing the work, okay? Because you're not going to have people to depend on, to prop you up. Okay, to tell you everything's going to be okay, because they are going to sever all of our contacts, and then we are going to be given social credit scores. We're going to have numbers that we access, and they're even trying to bring this into Australia already, that you actually, and they're using this hate speech, and this bullying, and, they of course will do it to keep us safe, But yeah, so we're going to have these numbers that we will have to use for everything, and that's going to be attached to our device, our phone. And I suppose you can actually, that's it, the Bolsheviks. Thank you, Tag. So yeah, we are going to be beholden to them because we're going to have that device, and I suppose you can think of it as a mark. They say the mark, take the mark. Yep. See, central bank digital currency, that's coming as well. I mean, it'll all be, you didn't do the right thing. They'll just take it off your credits, It's the way it's going to be, guys. So we just have to come to terms that there's no good banging our heads up against a wall and not wanting to listen to this knowledge or this information because you just can't process it or don't want to process it. It's coming, okay? It's going to happen. So the best thing you can do is gain more knowledge about your soul so that you aren't in fear of it, okay? It's not going to be comfortable for us, and there will be times where we get scared. And we get fearful. I mean, shit, if somebody turns up at my door in a car and tells me I've got to come with them, you think I'm not going to be scared about that, about what they're going to do to me? Of course I am. But at the end of the day, I'm still going to know that it's part of the process and that they can't destroy me as a soul. Okay, they can't destroy who I am as a soul. And they'll never win the war. They might win the battle with God now, but they'll never destroy the divine. They'll never destroy the divine race. They'll never destroy the kingdom. Okay, and they know they're coming to the end. That's why they're getting more and more reckless, letting us know who they are. I mean, they're literally letting us know who they are. I mean, they're literally showing us how corrupt our governments are. Look at Biden, right?
Now, I don't want to get into a discussion between Biden and Trump, right? They're both corrupted. They're both puppets, and they're both playing their part in the script. But I'm just going to give you this example of Biden the other, week being found to have all of this paperwork that he shouldn't have, right? And so, like, back in the day, like 10 years ago, right, there would be a huge inquiry. He would have to step down, the whole thing. Now, he comes out and he goes, I don't have any regrets. I don't have any regrets. They're telling us to our faces they can do whatever they want and we can't do anything. It's the same as the UK Parliament as well. Look at this Scottish Parliament. What's her name? Nicola, whatever. She's coming out and literally, saying that men who have a mental illness can now be locked up in prisons with a woman. And she can just say that and nobody can do anything about it. They're showing us that they are corrupt. The Balenciaga thing, showing us they are corrupt. Jamie Curtis made a tweet the other day, right? The other week or something. And in the background, there's a little kid who's kind of curled up, looking very emancipated and scared and traumatized in this suitcase. And she's got this in full view behind her. And then, so all these people are outraged, about this picture behind her. And she's like shocked and like, oh, it's just my neighbor who was a photographer and it's their child. And who does that? Who finds that type of art something that you would want to put on your wall anyway? If that is the case, right? And it was just her neighbor's child who is a photographer or her friend's child who is a photographer. Who does that? Right, they're letting you know. They've all signed their souls away. Every single celebrity, whether you like them or not, have sold their souls to the Antichrists for their fame and their glory and their power. And they are the gods of mortal man now. And to allow them to live their riches and their lives the way they wanted to in full indulgence, no doubt they know the truth. No doubt they know that they're going into the abyss. So they don't care. So they're just going to be as evil as they can. Because what have they got to lose? Okay, they may as well just play it out to the very end, which is what the Antichrists are doing. They know what's coming for them. So that's why I know there's going to be a nuke go off. They're going to nuke us because they're going to destroy what they won't inherit. Because that's their last F you to the Creator. Okay, they're putting their finger up and saying, F you, we're going to destroy what we can't inherit. And the way we destroy God is we destroy his creation. And go and have a look in the Vatican. Go and have a look at the sculpture in the main audience hall, which is, by the way, shaped as a serpent. And I'm not saying the symbol of the serpent is always a negative either. It's a polarity. It's got polarity, that symbol. But they are telling us in the Vatican that Jesus is coming out of a nuclear crater. They're showing us he's being blown out of a nuclear crater. Why would they have that sculpture there? Why? Because they're telling us. And this is why they put a lot of this foreshadowing, and people call it I can't think what they call it, but people often see things come true, like they talk about things in the movies and X-Files. X-Files did this whole thing on the pandemic and the whole thing about how the injections were, really a way to cull the herd, blah, 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 blah. And then, things like start playing out, like The Simpsons, and people say, they're doing this because they have to. No, they're doing that. This is the way that they provide their prophecies to us, because they try and emanate God and how God works on the physical plane. And so God the Creator reveals divine knowledge to the divine man back thousands of years ago, when it could still be accessed, because back then we still had access to the Christ light. And then the texts get written by all of the cultures, because the divine is represented in all of the cultures, right? And so that's why that divine prophecy begins to come true, right? And in the Colburn, there's literally a prophecy from Jesus saying that men will become women and women will become men. I mean, it's literally telling us, right? No wonder it's not in the Bible. That part never made it to the Bible, did it? Yeah, I wonder why. And so their way of doing it, so all of these divine truths are relayed to us through allegories, parables, stories, myths, legends, right? So how do you think that they do it? If they're pretending they're gods, and that's what they've made themselves, our gods. That's why they act the way they do and play things out the way they do. They're using the same rule book as God does. And so their way of relaying prophecy to us is through the movies, is through encoding it in their stories, which they've made their allegories, their parables, their myths. That's why we see it. That's why we see it over and over again. And yeah, this is them playing our gods, which is what they're doing. Anyway, geez, I've been going for a while, guys. I think I'm going to finish it up there. I know I didn't get to everything in there. It was mainly just a lot of the quotes. Basically, the quotes near the chain of being are just telling you from the Corpus Hermetica about how mortal things are joined to things immortal, and things perceived by the sense are linked to things beyond the reach of the sense, which is into the ethereal plane. But the supreme control is subject to the will of the master, which is God, the mind of the all, high above all. And this being so, all things are linked together and connected with one another in a chain extending from the lowest to the highest. So that's the macrocosm to the microcosm, so that we see that they are not many, but rather they are all one. So even though we look around us and we see that everything looks separate, it's not. It's all connected. And that's what the principle of correspondence tells us. And that's why we know that if the sun lets off a flare and ionizes the top of our atmosphere, that it's going to result in different weather patterns, earthquakes, and different events on the physical plane, even within us. And some people will actually feel, and they've done studies on this, and it does actually show that some people are very sensitive to solar weather. And that's again showing us that things are connected. Okay, and there even there's a connection between cosmic rays and the formation of clouds, right? Now, cosmic rays drop when we have an active solar cycle, and so that changes the clouds as well. So things beyond what we can see into the ethereal plane affect us on the physical plane. And that's what a lot of these people who are interested in the subject matter of astrophysics and solar activity, they miss that, okay? And all they do is they focus on, what does the solar activity mean to the physical Earth? What is it changing? What does it mean? But they actually never look beyond where that emanates and originates from, and that is the ethereal plane. You won't ever see Ben from Suspicious Observers mention God, okay? You won't see him mention how much influence the Creator has on the physical plane, the physical surroundings, our world. You won't ever hear him saying that. Oh, he might wear the necklace that looks really cool and spiritual, and he might talk the talk a few times and mention a few little spiritual things here and there, but he will never make half of his discussion about how everything is originating from the spiritual world. And this is really where I lost most of my followers when I was doing all of this back in the day, because I actually started in the physical realm. I started with all the earth changes. I started with the solar cycles. And by researching into that, it brought me back to the cause, and kept researching the cause and what the cause was, and then researching all the legends that were talking about the earth changes, and then that brought me to the ethereal part. And then when I discovered, there is a creator, and I knew that without a doubt, and then I started talking to everybody. I don't think you guys knew how hard it was for me to say the word God the first time I ever said it. It took me so much courage to actually mention God, because when I first started, I was all about Christ consciousness and everything's universal consciousness and source, and it's all just, I couldn't actually explain what Christ consciousness was and what universal consciousness was, but I just thought it sounded good, yeah, that sounds right to me. Christ consciousness, that's what it's talking about. That's what the Bible's talking about. It's just Christ consciousness and astro theology, because Santos Bonacci was talking all about how it was just, the Bible was just all about the planets and Christ consciousness. And of course that sounded great, for somebody that was just starting to wake up and looking into different things. But then the further you looked into it, the more you realized, no, that's not what it was all about. So yeah, it's not easy to transition from somebody that's in that mentality, and then everybody that's following you and listening to you and agreeing with you, they're all, yeah, Christ consciousness, yep. You know, we're all manifesting our own universe. Apparently, that was one of our beliefs as well, that we were all just doing this, manifesting it all ourselves. But logically, does that make sense? I mean, come on. If we are all manifesting creation ourselves, right, then who's actually keeping the planets in their orbits? Who's making sure that the moon is going around the earth exactly, you know, every 28 days? You know, who's making sure that the sun has its solar maximum every 11 years? I mean, it doesn't make sense. We're so chaotic. We don't even know if we're male or female anymore. People think the earth is flat. You know, people have all these different beliefs. Our minds are just literally in a state of chaos right now. And so if we were manifesting our reality, then our reality, as in the moon, the sun, everything, the stars, it would all be screwed up, because nobody is in alignment as a collective to manifest that. So no, we aren't manifesting anything. What we actually manifest is our own journey, okay? We manifest our own choices, and we already have our destined paths before us, okay? Again, this is the principle of cause and effect. So there are 64 paths before us at any one time that we can take, okay? Now, we can choose to take the easy path, which is the lower path, because it's easy, or we can choose to take the higher path, which is the harder path, you know, because it's harder, you know, and it's more difficult to travel that path. But that's the path you want, right? You don't want the easy path, right? And basically the Antichrists have put up big neon signs for the easy paths. Come this way, go down here, worship Jesus as God, the creator. You know, yeah, look, you can you know, have sex with whoever you want. It doesn't matter. It's you know, it's being tolerant, all right? It's being accepting. Yep, if you don't want to be a female anymore, you can be a man. And if you don't want to be a man, off you go. It's being tolerant. And do you notice how there's a saying that says the path, what is it? The path to hell is paved with kindness, basically. Like, you know, people who think they're being good, you know, they're just agreeing with the Antichrist's narrative. But they think they're being a good person because, hey, I'm just doing what the government's telling, the authorities are telling me to do. That makes me good, right? No, it doesn't, right? So you cannot actually choose the easy path and think that you're going to be rewarded. So that's how we manifest our destinies. That's how we have free will. Okay, we don't have free will to just do whatever we want. We have free will to choose the different paths before us. Okay, and then those paths will have other choices and this is how it works. And then all those paths come back together again at the end of the great year into one. So it's like a stream, like a river that goes off into all of its little tributaries, and then it goes to the ocean. Okay, and so we're all going back to the ocean. We're all going back to the Creator at the end of the great year. That's the one time that we all have communion, and that's what communion means, with the Creator once again before we're rebirthed back onto the physical plane. Right, and now the last thing I'll just go over is about the intellect and how it is drawn from the very substance of God. Okay, so this is from the Corpus Hermetica. The one on the left-hand side of the Great Chain of Being picture that I've got there. And it basically says that that those that are created closer to the divine mind are divine. Okay, they are the gods, right? And the lower or further away you are, the more mortal you become. Again, that's not saying that you can't be God-like, but you will never have the Logos, and the Logos, again, is that divine nature, that divine part of you, that divine portion of you is the Logos, okay? And so that commands from within, the intellect from within, and they're not under it in the same manner as others. So that means that the divine are not the same as the mortal man, and they will go through into the golden age regardless of their transgressions, okay? But for the mortals, Okay, we have to try harder. We have to make sure that we are following the path of Christ, that we are the Christed, I should say, because I don't want people to just think it's just, you know, Jesus, because it's not. It's you can find the path anywhere. You can go and study the Hindu texts and find it. You can go and study hermetics. You can go and study the Norse text. You can go and there's many ways to find the Christed path, okay? And the moment that you close yourself off to that, the moment you say Kabbalah is evil, is the moment that you may as well just close the Bible, put it down, and go and watch the football and drink beer. Because the Bible's not going to do you any good. Because you can't understand the Bible unless you've got an understanding of the entire subject matter, which is spread out across every culture. Do you think that the divine were really going to make it that easy that they just gave it to you in one book? No. It's purposely being fragmented so that we have to go out and put it back together ourselves to prove that we're worthy of it. So that's what people have to remember. Okay, you have to go and seek out knowledge. I've got a link to sacred texts. I've also got links on my website of all the resources that I recommend. I'm not saying they're the only ones, okay? I'm just saying they're the ones that I've vetted and I have found to be in an authentic, you know, like they are authentic compared to the other texts, all right? They're not just throwing stuff in there that can't be verified elsewhere. If you have other texts that you want me to discuss or give you my opinion on whether I think they're authentic or not, you know, maybe I haven't seen them before, I'd like to read them, just let me know, because I'm always open to new information. But I will, that sacredtext.com site is really good for getting a lot of PDFs and a lot of free text. And you know, the good thing is that the ancient texts, they're all copyright free, okay? They're all available. The only one that you won't find, as I've said before, is the Colburn Bible. You want the Master Edition, and they do try and link it with Nibiru and all that. Forget all that. That's just bullshit. Okay, it's got nothing to do with the text. Okay, they've tried their hardest to basically bastardize that text or suppress that text. Okay, they don't even have it on Wiki. They literally took it off Wikipedia, because they reckoned that it wasn't authentic enough for them to have a listing on, you know, an article for Wikipedia. I mean, that tells you everything, okay? So that's the only book that I would suggest you actually go and get a hard copy of. Look, get a hard copy of more than just that, though, because eventually you won't have access to the internet. So download everything onto your hard drive. Download any videos that you found helpful that I've done. You know, I don't even have all my videos anymore, okay? To tell you the truth, I've lost so many computers. I've blown up so many computers. Half of the stuff that I've got up on YouTube, I'm still in a process of downloading it and putting it onto an external hard drive. And I haven't done that yet because it's one of those things I have to do that I just never do. So download it. Anything that you think there's stuff in there that you might want to revisit later, download it. But really, everything in my videos is really just from texts anyway. So that's the main thing. Download the texts, buy the hard copies. Personally, probably at this stage of the game where they're going to control everything that we have on our computers and everything that we can access, probably would be good to have a stash of esoteric materials, because we really are going back to the age of the burnings, you know, of them burning the books and seeking out the heathens, you know, and we are the heathens. Like anyone that doesn't basically agree with the narrative that they're pushing at the moment is a heathen, okay? Is going to be hated on, is going to be ridiculed and mocked. I mean, these are the times we're in now, guys. This is why you are here. This is why you were born. This is why you have found an interest in these texts. Don't be swayed into a false path. You've got this far. You've woken up this far. Take your intellect into your own hands. Do not listen to anyone's opinion. Do not read footnotes. You have been given this intellect that you can actually understand this knowledge. It's just a matter of reading enough of it. Because the more you read, as I said, you can start to see it repeating itself over and over again. And then you start to realize, okay, that's important. Let's put that to a side. All right, let's keep going. And then that's how it's like that puzzle, as I was telling you. You're filling in those pieces of the puzzle. And you guys that have been around for like since 2012, you know, there's really no excuse for you guys not to have pretty much a good understanding of this knowledge. And look, if you've been, you know, kind of focusing on other like authors that you think sound good, and this guy sounds really good, no, he sounds like he knows what he's talking about. No, stop. You have to go back to the texts themselves. It's great to still listen to that guy. It's great to still go and read some of his books, whatever. But don't base your beliefs, don't base your idea of an understanding of reality and this knowledge on what he says or on what I say. You have to go and look for it yourself. And I'm always going to repeat that over and over again. So you're going to get sick of hearing me say it, but I'm going to say it. I'm going to finish every stream with saying it again. I should have a little catchphrase that I make up that I can just remind you guys that after every stream, go and get the Corpus Hermetica, go and get the Kabbalion, and go and read it. Okay, put aside a half an hour every day, even just before you go to bed at night. Just read a half an hour. It's better than nothing, okay? And just slowly make your way through the text, or even find if you can find these, you know, recordings where you can just listen to it in the background and you're doing your cleaning, or you're doing something doing the dishes, and you can just listen to it in the back. It's better to read it though, okay? I do have to say, listening is one thing, but reading it really there's something about reading it that just really solidifies it that little bit more. So go and get all of the texts here and look more. Go and look up the Gospel of the Holy 12. If there's anything in there that you want to question, that you don't understand, anything in any of these texts, next week's stream, I want to hear about it. I want to hear you guys say, I didn't get this part. What does this part mean? Any Bible verses that you guys aren't really getting, let me know and we can discuss them. I wouldn't actually mind doing a stream that just discusses a Bible verse, that fully just breaks it down and looks beneath the words, and so we can have an understanding of the, you know, symbolism that's behind all of the Bible verses. Anyway, I think this has been a pretty successful first stream. I was worried that I'd not have things to talk about, which is why I was, you know, doing up this big diagram. It's like, oh, I've got to have something to talk about, or I'm just going to sit there and say, I shouldn't have worried. I should not have worried. I don't think I'm ever going to have a problem with having something to talk about. I'm going to have to check out how I can get rid of people that come to the chat just to cause problems, because it's going to start getting around that I am doing live streams, and there's going to be shills and people that I have upset in the past who are going to join these streams just to troll me and just to, you know, be assholes, or just to be shills and try and send people off, you know, down the wrong path or whatever. So yeah, so I'm going to work on that one. Get my teenage son to try and help me work out what the hell, because I just do not understand the software. It's pretty involved. It's Streamlabs that I'm using, if that helps anybody that understands it, and can help me utilize this software a little bit better. But I can't seem to be able to take anybody out of the chat at the moment, so I don't know why that is. Maybe do I refresh the chat? Anyway, I'll work that out later. Okay, well, I am just going to leave it here, guys. So thank you so much for everyone that joined me. I thought it was really nice to see some old faces. Susie, you know, Attilia, Judith, who else? I've got a couple of the other adepts here, Ronnie, Anna. Good to see you guys, and you know, if I've missed anyone, sorry, because I probably can't scroll right back. And oh, Anna, I can see where you've told me that it was the tower. Finally saw that. Yeah, I'm not really reading the chat because it kind of it makes you not lose focus on it makes you lose focus on what you're talking about. So yeah, I have to get used to that too. But anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it here. So take care. And as always,